where I lived was very much a glasshouse area where they grew mostly tomatoes, cucumbers, chrysanthemums, that sort of thing. So it was not like the sort of nursery that I would work on now, out where everything is grown outside. In actual fact, I can remember that I started work. My very first job was in tomatoes and cucumbers, and I hated it because you spent all your time simply trimming tomatoes or cucumbers, taking off little bits of growth all the time. By the time you finished one side of the greenhouse, it was time to start again. It was incredibly boring. The very first job that I had to do was to pick about half an acre of tomatoes. They just sent me down, no training, nothing like that, go and pick these tomatoes. And I suppose I must have picked half a ton before the governor came rushing down. What I've been doing, because nobody told me, was to pull them off without that little green spider on the end. You can't sell them if it hasn't got that little green spider on the end. And of course I've picked half a ton of these things. He still kept me on, I'm pleased to say.
What about your career in gardening then? Where did that first take off?
I started life, as I say, in tomatoes and cucumbers. Then I went off for a couple of years and did my national service. And I spent most of that time, funnily enough, on the station farm in Germany looking after pigs. So I learned a little bit about pigs as well. Though, mind you, it was a pretty chaotic place, I have to say. But then I came out of there and went to college for a couple of years and then really started up on my own. And I did a whole range of jobs, working on fruit farms, as a landscape gardener, working in garden centres, etc., etc. And my break into gardening journalism, which I never expected to do, it's the last thing I thought of doing. It came when I bought a bit of land from a man who turned out to be the editor of Garden News magazine. I got very friendly with him, and one day he said to me, "Why don't you write something for the magazine?" I'd always fancied myself as being a pretty good writer, because I'd done quite well at school in English and that sort of thing. So I wrote this piece, which was about 500 words. It took me 3 weeks to write it. It's now about a 20-minute job, but it took me 3 weeks to write 500 words. But it was the most polished piece of horticulture journalism you ever read. Proudly, I took it down to this chap's house. And he read it through and he said, "Oh dear, we can't use this." And I was really shattered. And I said to him, "Well, rewrite it for me and tell me what I'm doing wrong." Kind man that he was, he rewrote it. And I saw exactly what he meant straight away. Because what I was doing, I was being patronising to people. You can't do that. I was the great expert and I was patronising them a bit, I must say. So I got the job, and that's really where I started. I don't think I've looked back since then. And they don't keep altering my copy now either, I'm pleased to say.